Winter driving. You know the drill. Icy roads, freezing temps, and that nagging question in the back of your mind. Is my car actually going to make it there on this tank of gas or this charge? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dig into exactly what the cold does to our cars, and more importantly, we'll find out which ones actually hold their own.
Okay, so first things first, let's get one thing straight. Nobody gets a free pass here. It doesn't matter if you're rocking the newest EV or a good old gas-powered car. The cold is like the great equalizer. It's coming for your range. Period. That's just a fundamental truth of driving when the temperature drops.
So, that really brings us to the big question, right? If every single car is going to take a hit, are some just better at taking that punch? Are there certain models or maybe some specific tech that gives you a real advantage when it gets seriously cold? Let's find out. To really answer that, we've got to look at the numbers. We're going to move past what feels right and all the stories you hear and dive straight into the hard data. So, just how bad is the damage? Let's take a look. All right, this really cuts to the chase. When it gets down to 0 degrees Fahrenheit, that's about minus 18 Celsius for our metric friends, your typical gas car is going to lose around 19% of its range. But look at electric cars. On average, they lose closer to 29%. Now that's a pretty big difference, and it's really the key to understanding what's going on under the hood for each of them. So let's break down why that happens.
So what is actually happening here? What's going on inside the engine or the battery pack that's causing this range to just disappear? Well, it all boils down to some pretty basic science, a little bit of physics and chemistry. Okay, for a gas car, the cold is basically a triple threat. First, the air gets denser. Think about it like trying to run through water instead of air. It's just harder for the car to slice through it. Then you've got the fluids, like your engine oil. They get all thick and gooey, kind of like cold syrup, which creates more friction and makes everything work harder. And of course, you're trying to push through snow and ice, which is way harder than driving on a clear road. You add all those little things up, and boom, there's your 19% drop.
Now, with EVs, it's a totally different ballgame. Yeah, the battery itself gets sluggish. The cold literally slows down the chemistry inside that releases the power. But honestly, the real villain of the story, the #1 range killer for an EV, is keeping you warm. See, a gas engine is super inefficient, so it throws off tons of waste heat. Perfect for heating the cabin. But an EV motor, it's so efficient, it barely makes any heat. So to stop you from turning into an icicle, it has to fire up a massive electric heater. And that heater drinks power directly from the same battery you're using to, drive.
So since EVs have this really unique challenge with heating, we've got to dig a little deeper on them. And lucky for us, we've got some amazing data to look at. We're talking about a massive, real-world study from the folks at Recurrent. They looked at data from over 30,000 EVs to see how they're actually doing out there in the real, cold world.
So what's the big headline from all that data? It's this number right here, 78%. On average, when the temperature hits freezing, an EV holds on to about 78% of its perfect weather range. So to put that in perspective, if your car gets, say, 300 miles of range in the summer, you're looking at more like 230-something in the winter. It's just a really good rule of thumb to have in your head.
But remember, that's just the average. Things get really interesting when you look at the top of the class, the best performers. And when you do, a pattern just jumps right out at you. You see a whole lot of Tesla, and you see this one little phrase over and over, with heat pump. And trust me, that little piece of tech is the absolute secret weapon we're about to talk about.
And this really shows you just how huge the difference can be between models. I mean, look at that gap. The best car in the study held on to an amazing 88% of its range. The worst? Only 69%. That's a nearly 20-point swing. So what on earth makes that much of a difference? Well, it's that thing we just mentioned.
All right, let's talk about the hero of our story. This is, without a doubt, the single most important piece of tech an EV can have for the winter. It's the heat pump. And folks, this is an absolute game changer. It's what separates the winter warriors from everyone else.
So what the heck is a heat pump? The easiest way to think about it is like your car's air conditioner running in reverse. Instead of burning a ton of energy to create heat out of thin air, which is what a standard heater does, a heat pump is smarter. It actually scavenges for heat in the outside air, and yes, there's still heat in the air even when it's cold, and then it just moves that heat into the cabin. And the efficiency is just insane. For every 1 unit of electricity it pulls from the battery, it can generate 3, sometimes even 4 units of heat. That is a huge deal. But here's a fascinating little twist. It turns out just having a heat pump isn't the end of the story. Check out this quote from the study. They think some car makers, like GM, basically program their cars to prioritize your comfort over max range. So to get the cabin warm super fast, the car will kick on the old, inefficient heater first, instead of letting the heat pump do its efficient thing. You feel toasty right away, which is great, but it's chewing through your battery. It's literally a trade-off they designed right into the software.
Okay, so it's clear the tech in your car makes a huge difference. But whether you've got a fancy heat pump or not, there's another massive piece of the puzzle. And this part is 100% in your control. It's how you drive. Your habits can make or break your winter range. So let's open up the toolkit.
All right, for all you EV drivers out there, these 4 tips are absolute gold. Number 1, precondition. That means warming up your car and the battery while it's still plugged in. You're using house power, not battery power. It's a freebie. 2, use your heated seats and steering wheel. Seriously, they heat you, not the whole cabin, and use way less energy. 3, just know that charging will be slower. Cold batteries have to charge gently to protect themselves, so just plan for it. And 4, if you can, just leave your car plugged in. It lets the car sip power from the wall to keep its battery management system happy and warm.
And look, these next tips aren't just for EVs. This is for everybody. This is just how to be a smarter driver, period. Go easy on the accelerator. Imagine there's an egg under the pedal. Lock in your speed with cruise control on the highway. It's way more efficient than your foot. Try to look way ahead down the road so you can see traffic slowing and just coast instead of hitting the brakes. And watch your speed. Your efficiency just plummets once you get over, say, 50 or 60 miles an hour. And finally, let the car do the work. Lift your foot off the gas early and just coast to a stop. It saves gas, and in an EV, it actually puts a little juice back into your battery.
So, when you boil it all down, it's really a 2-part puzzle, isn't it? Beating winter is partly about the car you choose. Getting that key tech like a heat pump can make a huge difference. But the other half is all about you, the person behind the wheel. Which really leaves us with one final thing to chew on. What's more important in the end, the car you buy or the way you drive it?